Welcome back for a webinar on opium poisoning. Today we will deal with opium poisoning, or what it is called as morphine poisoning in short. Prior to that, let us have a look at the opium plants, what you call Papaver somniferum plants. Here you can see few plants in different color flowers. This is the part of that plant which is called as capsule or pods, which is harvested for the purpose of extracting the opium juice. And here you can see opium juice which is coming out of one pod here, one capsule here. You can see this, it's a whitish in color, and that dries after some time, and that is taken for preparation of opium and further products of opium, all the synthetic products also. Here you can see a brown sugar or heroin which is prepared from these opium pods. Opium poisoning or narcotic or heroin or the drug poisoning, which is narcotic drugs. There are many types of narcotic drugs, but the opium and its synthetic products are the main poisons which are part of opium poisoning or somniferous poisons. Here you can see one image of a person who has taken opium or heroin. We call it as brown sugar. You can call it. You can see a spoon which is used for the heating with the help of a lighter. You can see this powder here, which is called as brown sugar. Today we will try to understand acute opium poisoning. And in acute opium poisoning, we will see different stages of acute opium poisoning. Acute opium poisoning is mainly acting on central nervous system in 3 stages. First stage is stage of excitement, madam. Another stage is stage of stupor, and third stage is stage of narcosis. We saw these stages in alcohol poisoning also. In acute alcohol poisoning, there is a stage of excitement, there is stage of incoordination, and then there is a stage of narcosis. Similarly, in acute opium poisoning, there are 3 stages: stage of excitement, stage of stupor, and stage of narcosis. I will try to see these stages one by one because this is what is asked in exams, and it is called as usually questions on exams are on opium poisoning or acute opium poisoning, where you have to write all these 3 stages. In stage of excitement, there is a sense of well-being, what is called as euphoria, and the patient, the person who consumes this opium enters into the bout of laughter. So laughter means hasme, okay, starts laughing because of the effect of the opium, and the victim also enters into the hallucination stages of hallucinations. There is increasing heart rate, and convulsions also may occur in children. Usually convulsions are more common amongst these children. If you see the details of this stage of excitement, this stage of excitement may not be present if the dose of opium is taken in a large amount, because that passes off and directly person enters into stage of stupor. So in a uh, may be absent if large dose is taken. That means extra large or overdose will not give you stage of excitement. Directly patient will go into the stupor. But in case of low amount of opium, there will be euphoric feeling of well-being, and there is restlessness and hallucination, increased pulse rate, heart rate, there is flushing of face, and as I told you earlier, in children convulsions may also occur. You have to remember all these signs and symptoms of stage of excitement. Another stage, the next stage is stage of stupor. If the volume of opium is in large amount, person directly goes into the stage of stupor without excitement. But usually people take it for the purpose of feeling of well-being or euphoria. For the purpose of excitement, they take it. So eventually that person will go into stage of stupor. Okay. Here there is headache, giddiness, diminished sensibility in the body, strong tendency to sleep, awake only by painful stimuli. So pin pricking will try to give little, awakening in the person. Pupils remain contracted, lips and face are cyanosed, and pulse is normal at this stage. Respiration is normal at this stage. These are the two good signs at least. In the stage of stupor, if you see in further details, there is a itching sensation all over the body, and the sleep is uncontrollable desire to sleep. So that is called as stupor. Meaning of stupor is uncontrollable desire to sleep. Okay. Apart from other signs and symptoms, the major signs of symptom, major sign and symptom of stage of stupor is uncontrollable desire to sleep. And third stage is stage of narcosis. Here the person is already into the sleep, deep sleep. So deep sleep is called as narcosis, and deep sleep will eventually, get converted into deep coma. Muscles of the body goes into relaxation. The reflexes are completely abolished. Pupils remain contracted. There is no reaction to light. Okay, when they put light on in the eyes, it will not react. The blood pressure lowers down. Skin becomes cold and clammy, and there is a profuse perspiration from this person. And temperature is low, usually less than 35 degree centigrade. And in this the stage of narcosis, there is one breathing type called as uh, chain stroke breathing. So here the chain stroke breathing means respiration rate is 2 to 4 per minute. So low respiration is found in this case. So that is why the person is in deep coma. And due to loss of sensibility, the bladder becomes distended, and in this stage the pupils are pinpoint. They do not respond to the light. When the light or torch is put in the eye, light, there is no response to that. And other symptoms are also found, like unusual symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, convulsions, increased temperature, dilated pupils. These are unusual symptoms. And we have other some diseases which are similar to acute opium poisoning, and that is why we have to study the differential diagnosis and to decide whether it is acute opium poisoning or some other systemic disease like apoplexy, where there is a pontine hemorrhage in the brain, in the pons, or if some metabolic condition like uremic coma. You have to differentiate uremic coma from opium poisoning, because urea increases in case of uremic coma, or barbiturate poisoning. These are the other drugs in allopathic pharmacy. They also cause similar type of poisoning. Alcoholic coma, hysterical coma, epileptic coma, and carbolic acid poisoning. These are some of the other poisonings and diseases which are similar to acute opium poisoning. So we have to differentiate these all these from opium poisoning. Here you can see a differential diagnosis. Other conditions such as CVA, elderly, hypertensive, or in pontine hemorrhage, which we saw, metabolic conditions, even diabetic coma. Okay, and we saw all those: alcohol poisoning, carbolic acid poisoning, epileptic, hysterical coma, plus organophosphorus poisoning also. So these are similar to opium poisoning. Now, what is the fatal dose of opium? If the opium, I told you, opium is available in different forms. If it is taken in a crude form, 1 to 2 grams of crude opium is fatal. If the morphine is taken, because it is synthetic product, that will give you 200 to 400 milligrams. It is in milligrams, okay? So 200 to 400 milligram is enough for the purpose of fatality. And if the tincture is utilized, 8 to 16 ml of tincture made up of opium is fatal. and in children only 1 to 3 drops are enough to cause fatality. The fatal period in the human being is 6 to 12 hours after the exposure to this opium poisoning. And in extreme cases, if the dose is very high, 45 minutes are enough to enter into fatality. So it is highly poisonous. That is why we have to know all the different products of opium available, for the purpose of poisoning cases. Well, what will happen in fatal dose? If the dose is fatal, what will happen? That we have seen through signs and symptoms, but we'll go for synoptic study of signs and symptoms after taking a fatal dose. There is a generalized cyanosis. Fine froth comes from the mouth. Okay, and breathing is of sighing and irregular type. Chain stroke breathing, I told you, 2 to 4 million cycles per minute. Pulse is imperceptible, pupils dilate terminally, and no reaction to light. Deep coma and respiratory paralysis eventually happens, and yet that will take to the death. What are the diagnostic criteria? You can say diagnostic point. One, the smell of breath after taking opium is like raw flesh. I told you in the beginning, like a meat. Okay. Pinpoint pupils with no reaction to light. This is a pinpoint diagnostic point. So pinpoint pupils. Moist perspiring skin because of heavy perspiration and secretion from the skin. Temperature of the body is lower, below 35 degrees centigrade. And cyanosis and froth at mouth and nose. Okay, these are the 5 criteria which diagnose acute opium poisoning. What is the treatment after opium poisoning? Say by, even if it is secreted into the stomach, the parenteral opium is secreted into the stomach. There is no use of emetics. Emetics means which produce vomiting. They are ineffective in case of opium poisoning due to depression of vomiting center, vomiting center in the brainstem. Okay, and that is why stomach wash is preferred with tepid water initially, and then with potassium permanganate 1s to 5000 strength till the washed water returns with original pink color. And some potassium permanganate should be left in stomach to oxidize the alkaloids that is secreted in stomach after the absorption. So in absence of potassium permanganate, what you will use? So there are other 2 alternatives, like you can use a tea, or it is also called as tannic acid. It can be helpful for the purpose of stomach wash. And mixture of powder of charcoal and water that we saw as a universal, antidote for the purpose of poisoning. And here you can use it for the stomach wash. Gastric lavage, that means stomach wash, should be done if the drug is taken by hypodermic needle. So hypodermic means inside the vein, intravenous or subcutaneous. That because the alkaloid is resecreted into the stomach after the absorption. Even if the hypodermic needle is used to take this poison, it is resecreted into the stomach after absorption. That is why gastric lavage should be done. What is the specific treatment for opium poisoning? Nalorphine is available in the allopathic pharmacy, and that is used as a specific treatment because it is antidote to the opium poison. Nalorphine, remember this word, and it can be given in 5 to 10 milligram after every 15 minutes till the pupils begin to dilate or responses becomes normal, all the reflexes, and the patient is aroused from the coma. Okay, and the maximum dose of nalorphine which can be given is up to 40 milligram. So this is available if the person is diagnosed to be having acute opium poisoning. This will certainly work. Naloxone is pure antagonist, which is given in 0.4 to 0.8 milligram intramuscular or intravenously to be repeated after every 10 to 15 minutes. maximum dose of naloxone is 10 milligram. Antibiotic in case of prolonged coma, if you have to give to prevent the infections. Artificial respiration has to be given. That means he has to be put on ventilator. We have to keep the body warm, and other symptoms, if any exist, that has to that are to be treated, by symptomatic treatment. So in treatment part, we heard about this naloxone hydrochloride as an antidote for opiate poisoning. So I repeat that once again. And what will happen if the person still dies, and what are the post-mortem appearances in case of opium poisoning death? Externally, if you see, there is a specific smell from the body. I told you that smell is like a flesh, like a meat. And there is a deep cyanosis. The whole body, is cyanosed, a bluish in color. And there is pinpoint pupils even after death, okay? And there is a froth at the corners of mouth and nose. And there is a well-marked post-mortem lividity. That lividity is eventually comes in everybody, but here is because of opium poisoning plus because of cyanosis, there is well-marked lividity. Internal organs of the opium poisoning, died person will give you smell of opium, which is also called as musky smell, and marked venous congestion you see on the body. Body is dark and fluid. Stomach congested may contain black particles of opium. And bladder is full of urine distended due to accumulation of urine. Now, what is the medico-legal aspect of opium poisoning? Means opium poisoning happens due to suicide or due to homicide or due to accident. That part we'll study now. Usually, homicidal opium poisoning is rare. That means you cannot give it to somebody and kill that person, because of smell. Everybody is aware of that, and at least that smell is disagreeable, so nobody will try to take it. But the children, or small children like infants, they are not aware of this, and if that is put to them, there is chances of getting infanticide. Infanticide means killing the infants here with the help of opium. Cattle means, cows and oxes, and those animals can be killed with the help of opium poisoning. So the animals, they don't know anything about that. And accidental is also rare. That somebody takes it accidentally is also rare. But suicidal is common, because suicide comes after drug addiction. People in the beginning, they take it for purpose of depression, or for the purpose of melancholy, or for the purpose of enjoyment. Of some youth, they do it for the enjoyment, and then they get addicted, and addiction doesn't stop, and that is why they take a suicidal dose and they kill themselves. So this is how you study opium poisoning as far as medico-legal aspect of it is concerned. Well, another things in medico-legal aspects are because of easily availability of this, uh, opium in different form, mostly in synthetic form, and it is also painless to take. So people attempt it for the purpose of suicide. Okay, but homicidal and accidental is rare. Accidental is, it can happen due to overdose. If somebody requires, morphine, if a doctor is giving morphine to his patient, now here it is a medical reason, but the doctor or by some chance that dose becomes extra dose for that person, or it is called as overdose. Here the accident poisoning will also take place. Infanticide was very common once upon a time, because opium plants, and that was very easily available. But now, because of this NDPS Act, everything has become very strict. But this medicine you cannot stop, though it is a scheduled drug. People make it available from with this or that kind of resources, and that is why it says that it is easily available, and that people take it for the purpose of addiction and for the purpose of suicide. Now, this is what we study through acute opium poisoning. Well, now we have to study chronic opium poisoning, or what is called as opium addiction. One person who is repeatedly taking that opium voluntarily, and he cannot restrain from it, that is called as addiction. And that addiction condition is called as morphinism or morphinomania. So he's mad about that drug. He wants to take it at any cost. And chronic poisoning is characterized by physical signs and symptoms, mental signs and symptoms, and moral degeneration also. So these are the stages in chronic opium poisoning: physical, mental, and moral. So in acute, we saw stages: stage of excitement, stage of stupor, and stage of narcosis. Here there are no stages, but these are the parts affected: first body, then mind, and then moral, which is related to the society. We see some signs of physical degeneration of some different types called as emaciation, because the person doesn't eat well, he is addicted, and he just tries to take only opium, so he gets emaciated. There is marked emaciation on the body. He suffers from different infections. There is anorexia, means there is loss of appetite, so no food is consumed. A person suffers from constipation, okay, hard stool, and plus he becomes or she becomes impotent or impotency, usually in case of males, and sterility, that they cannot have children due to chronic opium poisoning. Okay, these are physical signs, and some mental degeneration signs we'll see now. They suffer from loss of memory. There is marked irritability. There is depression. So there is no benefit. Depression persists, and there is gradual dementia. So without becoming old, the person will get dementia in the youth itself because of heavy, addiction towards opium. So these are the mental degeneration signs. And what you see in moral degeneration and signs of moral degeneration, as these people who are addicted to morphine or to opium, they turn into criminal kind of people. So they develop a criminal attitude, and now they are ready to commit any kind of crime, maybe murder, rape, and whatever possible to them. Usually murders they do, because of there is marked jealousy also after becoming addict to morphine. And the personality of this person becomes distorted. He doesn't look like a normal human being, and usually he is avoided by the society, and he is not fit to live in the society. Usually they try to remain isolated. Those people, they have their own groups and they make their own community. They remain isolated, and they look for a chance to commit a crime. Usually they commit crimes for the purpose of money, because money is required to purchase this opium, which is uh, quite costly as far as the morphine, pethidine, such kind of preparation, synthetic preparations are concerned. They cost a lot. That is why they first make a robbery, or they can make a snatching things, all that, and they again utilize that money for the purpose of taking this opium. Till they die, they keep on doing this. Now, I told you in the beginning also, there is a something called as brown sugar, and which is called as heroin. Heroin is a actual name, and it is a synthetic derivative of opium. It is most potent active addictive drug. So if you use heroin, you will certainly enter into addiction. And it is also called as smack. People have kept this name. It is called as smack. It is called as junk. It is called as dope. It is called as brown sugar. Like say how that cannabis indica, ganja is called as weed they call it. Okay, and here they call this with these names like smack, junk, dope, brown. That is their language. It can be smoked, it can be inhaled, it can be injected. And there are shooting galleries. Shooting galleries means these people make a place where heroin activities are conducted. That means they gather together and they take this drug together. So I told you in the social part that they form a group. And this is also called something called as butting fulling. That means it's a process of injecting small amount of drug, withdrawing some blood to ensure that the needle is in the vein, and to keep the lumen open helps to assess the potential of drug, and for intermittent injection also. Usually they are so emaciated, and even the volume of the blood is low in them, and plus they keep on doing this. and there is no much pain for them, because the pain of the needle is nothing in front of having a dose of opium. So those are the signs of morphinism. Here the person, see, he doesn't even take what you call time to keep the syringe aside. The dose has been taken, and with the syringe only he has gone into stupor and into narcotic stage. So this is what happens, and this type of life is what they want. They don't want to have botheration of the world, what is happening around them. They remain in their own uh, this type of world. What will happen if prolonged use of opium or morphine is done? So prolonged use of morphine means morphinism. Usually this is found in young adults because they get addicted towards this most easily, and it can tolerate up to 3 to 6 grams per day. And the effects are, there are multiple scar mark, because everywhere they try to use that injectables also, and dry skin, mouth, tongue, and hair. There is nausea and vomiting. There are depression, hallucinations, dementia, and anorexia in case of morphinism. So if suppose this opium is stopped for some purpose, if the person even decides after what you call psychotherapy, he wants to now avoid that, stay away from opium, he will suffer from withdrawal syndrome. So withdrawal symptoms are, say, like first few hours after quitting opium, he will suffer from fear and anxiety. There is a lot of fear and anxiety, so they require opium dose. After 8 to 16 hours, the restlessness increases. After 14 hours, there is a sweating and running nose and eyes. Everywhere there is a water coming out of the body, you can see. And after 24 hours, pupil get dilated so much that he starts shivering. Now in the shivering stage, you have to manage, becomes emergency. And after 36 hours, so even one day to abstain from opium is very difficult in case of addicted people. So it is always better to keep away from that drug. The 36 hours, after 36 hours, there will be severe twitching of the muscles, and the painful cramps also come in the legs, in the abdomen, and there is vomiting, diarrhea, and insomnia. Here you have to either take that person to the ICU, or you have to give him another dose of opium. And after 3 to 4 days, this person will have subsidence in the symptoms if he remains without opium for such a long period. So tolerance also develops rapidly, and that is why withdrawal symptoms, we get these like sweating, malaise, anxiety, depression, general feeling of heaviness, cramps in the limbs. In case of severe addiction, there is also twitching and convulsions. And heroin is rapidly metabolized. Uh, Urine samples may show morphine alkaloids for hours or days, even after a single dose. So you can find these traces in the urine, what you call samples. And with this, we have ended the chronic opium poisoning, or what we call as morphinism. Once upon a time in the world, many products marketed for adults, for children, and they were sold for pain and cough relief. So not for the purpose of addiction, but there were products available in the market. Now they are total. There is a ban except medicine. Okay, and they contain opium. So one picture I am showing you here, Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup. The name of that product is soothing syrup. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup. That was given to the babies to keep them calm. So this type of practice was there, but now they don't do it. Even codeine in the cough is a scheduled drug now. So you have to use it very precautiously. Those who are allowed to use it, it is better always to keep out of this danger, and this danger is of a grave nature. I told you, the plant looks very beautiful. You like to feel, to enter into this field, you can watch it, except that khaskhas which we talked, and the life-saving medicine which is prepared from this. Other things are really worst. We shouldn't try this. We shouldn't even you should keep away, stay away from this area. It is a prohibited area even where the government allows for the plantation of opium, that is marked as a prohibited area for other person other than licensed people. Okay, so illegal use of crop may cause death. So you shouldn't plant opium nowhere in your say house, terrace, or what you call fields. It's banned in India. NDPS Act 1985 has all that objectives and different clauses where you will be put behind the bars, and that is why if you use it, if you violate that act, NDPS Act 1985, with a brown sugar or heroin or opium or morphine or pethidine, lots of names are there. Certainly, you are going to get caught one day. Consumption, even though you are a patient, there will be a FIR booked against you, and you will face arrest immediately. So I would like to give you a message through this webinar. You can see there is a stop, or you can just ban that opium. Okay, say no to drugs, say no to opium. And with this, I end my today's webinar on opium poisoning. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And in this picture, you can see the flowers. Those flowers are of, they are not certainly of opium. You can see them from close distance. Those flowers belong to calendula. Those are the calendula flowers, that plant which is similar to opium plant in case of size and shape. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we will stop here. Any question? Anybody wants to ask any question? Yes. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, and have a nice day. All the best for your exams.